All right. The cool thing is, it does tell us up in the corner here how many people we got on, which Restream also does that. But
I do not see that, so that might be a you thing.
oh, let's see.
Let me get on my phone and see how it looks. There we go.
All right. Well, we got 6 people on here. If you are tuning in, thanks for joining us. We don't have a fancy intro or anything like that, but we're going to wait a little bit for people to jump on here. And wow, 11 people already. That's pretty cool. Jesse, what's up? Andrew, what's going on? Mark, what's going on? Billy Ray Milburn, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. Again, we're going to give it a few minutes for some people to jump on here. Again, this is just a little remote thing that Cole and I decided to do since we weren't able to do a podcast this past Wednesday. So again, we'll give it a little bit. Billy Jordan, how's it going? Steven, what's going on, man? Jeremy Scott, what's going on? Again, if you're just joining us, thanks for tuning in. We will officially get started shortly. We're not going to have there's no fancy intros or anything like that today. I mean, we're doing this remote. I'm in my car, literally. Looks like Cole is more appropriately set up in his office, but we had a change of plans with my family today, and so I just had to pull an audible, and here we are. So I'll give it a couple more minutes. We promoted, so to speak, a 7 o'clock Central, 8 o'clock Eastern start time, but my laptop battery is at 58%. So we'll see how long this gets us. Once I hit the probably, I'd say 10% range, probably need to wrap it up, but we'll see what happens. So again, if you're just joining us, thanks for tuning in. This will be a brief video just to chat with you guys and just catch up on what's happened in wrestling the last week and a half or so. So just in the interest of normalcy, we'll just go ahead and get rolling by starting. Cole, what's happening?
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the greatest wrestling podcast ever. Even though things are different today,
House show
with our setup, it is still the greatest wrestling podcast ever. And boy, do we have some great little fun things to talk about this evening.
So I do like the fact that I'm able to see who a lot of people that are commenting, who you guys are, who the comments are coming from, because a lot of times it'll say, just like Facebook user or what have you. But the thing I do like about StreamYard is that it lets me post your guys' comments on here. So scroll through here. Drew, what's going on? Good to be on here. Saturday night anything feels weird. Us on Saturday night, Dynamite on Saturday night.
I didn't even realize it was tonight. I was trying to play catch up. I was at summer camp all this week, and I was playing catch up, watching all the wrestling I missed out on. I was like, yo, I thought it was last night. And then I look, and it's like, hey, getting ready to start. And I was like, yo, I did not realize that this was tonight. So it does feel.
David, how's it going? So yeah, that's another reason we'll try to keep it brief tonight. Again, notwithstanding my laptop battery, which is slowly dwindling, and as you can see, I'm in my car. I don't have a way to plug my laptop in. Stacy, how's it going?
Hello, Stacy. Hopefully you are feeling good after surgery.
Agreed. John Mathis, how's it going? Stacy is affectionately known as Lunch Lady. So, So if this is your first time joining us, also let us know. We want to give you a proper shout out. This is not our normal setup. We're normally, broadcasting out of a studio. We have an intro and all that stuff, but normally we're on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. So we encourage you to join us. We will be back this Wednesday morning. So hopefully you can join in and join us and tune in. I'm sorry. But for now, I'd say for the next 40 minutes, or at least until my laptop battery holds out, let's talk some wrestling. So,
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, makeshift bell. There you go. I don't know, Cole, what do you want to talk about first?
Let's just address the elephant in the room because we know that this is going to get addressed at some point. But I think everybody wants to probably talk about some of these releases that happened. I did not know about any of them. Again, I was at church camp and had the phone on DL mode. So
you were under a rock.
I was in the middle of nowhere. So I did not know. So when I got back to a service area and saw the list, I was kind of like, whoa, was not expecting to see that many names. So yeah, would love to hear thoughts and whatnot on some of these releases that we saw on the list.
So yeah, like Cole said, share with us what you guys think.
Let me pull the list up here real quick.
Really the biggest ones were Fandango, Tyler Breeze, Tony Nese was a big one.
All right, here, let's take a look here.
Sting brothers were on that list.
Oh, Killian Dane. That was another one.
Killian Dane was on the list.
Killian Dane was the one I was shocked about. I'm looking. Kurt Stallion. I'm not familiar with Kurt Stallion. Or August Gray.
So August Gray, I remember from NXT, but yeah, the first one, Kurt Stallion, I'm blanking on.
Marina Shafir was kind of interesting.
Yeah, which was really so. Fightful Select actually posted an update on her in particular that they were actually going to include her because, I mean, that's Roderick Strong's. I think they're married, are they not?
They're together one way or another. I believe they're married.
They were going to include her in that Diamond Mine stable, which I think I wouldn't have seen anything wrong with that.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm just kind of,
especially when Roderick Strong walked out, he walked out with her in his hand. So that's kind of why I was kind of shocked. Also, along with the potential to always bring her up with Shayna and create something there would have been interesting. Obviously, the Bollywood Boys, Tyler Breeze, Fandango, Arturo Ruas. This one intrigues me a little bit because when they did the Raw draft, they drafted him to a roster, and I believe it was Raw if I'm not mistaken. But they did the same thing with Dabba-Kato, which made me think that they potentially had some kind of gimmick for him, whether it was a right-hand man or to launch a stable of some sorts. I don't know. But I don't know why you do that on live television where you draft him to a Raw or SmackDown and then never use him and release him. So that one kind of shocks me.
Here's another one, Tino Sabatelli, which who else can say they've been released by WWE twice?
Yeah. I mean, Ariad, Davari, we said Tony Nese, Everrise kind of shocked me as well. Because they had the podcast that they were so heavily promoting on television and the endorsement from Kevin Owens. I was kind of shocked that some of the backing of some of the more top talents on the roster wasn't enough to kind of keep them around. So
here's what's really unfortunate. One of the guys from Everrise, his wife is actually pregnant right now.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, way to go there, WWE. I mean, anyway, yeah, 205 Live has pretty much been I mean, 205 Live main event, which that's another thing we can talk about that we didn't mention before we went live, something that happened on main event, which we can get to that. 205 Live is, I say unfortunately, because the cruiserweight division is actually getting a lot more visibility at this point, which has been the creative plans with WWE, but it's getting attention under NXT.
Right.
To me, that's just like, between these releases and the fact that cruiserweights are getting more visibility, but outside of the cruiserweight, again, division, it's like, I mean, Thomas's comment is kind of twofold here. I would not be surprised if 205 Live I'll give it before the end of fall is done. Like it's just gone. So
yeah, I think the belt going under the NXT, because now it's the NXT Cruiserweight Championship too. It's not like it's the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. It's the NXT. So I think that it was a slow transition that eventually they are going to let the 205 thing kind of run out in a sense. But yeah. So a couple names on there. I don't know if any of them are so big that I would be like, yo, we got to talk about where they're going to go. Because a lot of them, I don't see any of them going to AEW. I don't see.
Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if one or two popped up, but I don't have any. I can't really pinpoint in my opinion. I can't really pinpoint a specific. I mean, there are connections there. Tyler Breeze has that wrestling school with Sean Spears. Tony Nese has done a lot of indies with, the Bucks and such. So it wouldn't shock me if one or two wind up there, but
I could see it a little bit with the other show coming in play, adding a couple more names, just because they were on WWE, especially guys like Killian Dane, Tony Nese, Ever Rise. Again, they're very well liked in the independent scene. They might bring some of those in just for minor shock value. Nothing that they promote heavy, but just something that's like, oh, that's another name. So I could see some of that, but honestly, I see a lot of these guys going back down. But just something that's like, oh, that's another name. Is that okay? NWA, ROH, Impact, some of those, maybe New Japan for a couple of them.
Yeah, so I actually thought about Tony Nese. I feel like would be a great fit for New Japan.
Yeah.
I feel like Tony Nese is, and again, I sound like a broken record because I've said this before. This is not meant to be any disrespect to Ring of Honor. I kind of feel like Tony Nese is above Ring of Honor at this point. And I feel like he would get pigeonholed, and I feel like he could do a lot bigger things. And I feel like New Japan would be his. I'll equate it to Drew McIntyre / Drew Galloway going to Impact, doing some indie stuff, and that being kind of his launching point, possibly coming back to WWE at some point, and actually being I'll just say a major player, because let's face it, he wasn't really a major player, but that's not his fault. What else can we talk about?
There was a good transition here. Drew says, I feel bad for Nikki Cross's hurricane-inspired gimmick. This
right.
This kind of is a twofold transition, because we saw this this past Monday night that there were the beginnings of qualifying matches for Money in the Bank, which honestly, I was just talking to Alex before we started the stream. The Money in the Bank card is actually starting to shape up to be a pretty good-looking card. I mean, we already are going to see Bobby Lashley versus Kofi, which should be pretty good. We're looking at Roman Reigns and Edge for the belt. I'm not really sold on another Charlotte versus Rhea one-on-one, but I'm sure it'll be good. But we're looking at two Money in the Bank matches that are really shaping up nicely, with the men's having Ricochet. I was super excited about that. He's kind of my dark horse right now to win. Riddle obviously a good selection there. Also playing into the.
Who I don't know if you noticed, he got his first name back. They're calling him
Uh,
Matt Riddle now.
oh, really? I didn't notice that because on all the media they're still calling him Riddle. But
So, I mean, Michael Cole referred to him as Matt Riddle this past week on multiple occasions.
I'd be happy if they did that. So
agreed.
Matt Riddle's in that match. We're also looking at John Morrison, another dark horse that I wouldn't mind.
Would be my pick.
Seeing him win that match, and then I'm missing one.
Let's see, Ricochet.
Big E.
Big E, yeah, he beat me to it.
Big E's in that match now as well. So a lot of great names in the men's, but then as we look at the women's, which also this was kind of some weird booking for me. The 2 qualifier matches on Raw were both tag matches. So they've already decided there are 4 women from Raw, which is the unique tag team of Naomi and Asuka, who beat Eva Marie and what was the name?
Dough Drop or something.
I don't know. I was like, okay. You remember last week when I was, last week's show, I was kind of talking about how I kind of loved the swerve that they had Piper come in and fight for her and kind of play into that. Then this week I was like, oh, okay, now we're off. Now we have really messed up an opportunity. I don't know what they're doing with that storyline. It's a very bad start to any kind of Eva Marie return with things already. Dough drop.
Yeah, I said that.
I
didn't know if I was pronouncing it right.
Very terrible way to bring her back in. I don't think there's any way to make that storyline even remotely good. But regardless, that was that match. So we got Asuka and Naomi into the Money in the Bank, which I'm cool with. But then more interestingly, we get the pairing back of Alexa Bliss and Supercross. I don't know what they're doing with
Supercross
with this gimmick. And we were talking before the show, way to give Nikki such a push on Raw to where she beats, whether they were time limit draws, distracted pins, whatever, to give her a run of wins and then find a way to royally mess it up. Like this new gimmick. First of all, tagging her and Alexa Bliss up in a tag match was like, I don't even understand like why that was the pairing. You would have been better off keeping them separated and doing singles matches where Alexa Bliss is affecting both Nia and Shayna to continue that storyline. But that was weird in itself. And then Nikki not really being a superhero, but being a her promo was not very good, right? Like it wasn't a superhero promo. It was all about just having a winning spirit. So we get that pairing, and then on top of that, we have now Alexa Bliss has Jedi mind tricks. Like she can just make people slap each other and do what she says. Like I don't know, but we have those two as winners as well now in the women's Money in the Bank match. So your thoughts first and foremost, some of the Money in the Bank stuff that's coming around, and then on top of that, on Nikki Cross, aka Supercross, is what we'll call her.
I'm just over I'll call it mistreatment of Nikki Cross. Just I don't know, like to me, you could have done so much. You could have gone back to her just being nuts shtick.
The best one had.
And it would have been better than anyway. So I mean, honestly, I don't have a whole lot else to add to that, but I do want to look at the Money in the Bank card in its entirety at this point. So as it stands now, and some of this is rehashing what you said, right now we have Ricochet versus John Morrison versus Matt Riddle versus Big E versus either AJ Styles or Randy Orton or Drew McIntyre, or so between AJ, Randy, and Drew, one of those guys will make it. Between KO and Sami Zayn, one of those guys will make it, which is odd to me because I thought KO was taking a break. Like, he actually went on social media and said, hey guys, I forget how he worded it, but taking some time off or taking a break, however he worded it. But then a week later, he's back.
Now, to be fair, they are fighting in a last man standing match this next Friday.
Right.
So that could be the send off ish. And because we aren't back to live crowds yet, that could already technically be filmed.
Could be, but he kind of jumped the gun then on posting it on social media.
Right.
And then two more of the standard TBD.
And those are going to both be SmackDown.
They would have to be, yeah. So then we've got on the women's side, we've got Asuka versus Naomi versus Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross versus Carmella versus three more TBDs. And then we've got, like you said, the Lashley Kofi match, the Rhea Charlotte match, and then Roman Reigns against Edge, who made his return last night. So let's segue into that. So Edge made his return. We talked a little bit about this before we went live. First off, just your general thoughts on Edge's return. Like, what do you think? How do you think they made him look strong enough during his return? Do you just your thoughts overall?
So I think first of all, it's hard to call it a return when he's only been gone like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, return in the sense that they tried to make Roman look big coming out of Mania, just doing the double pin, essentially pinning Daniel Bryan and Edge at the same time. So I mean, I get what you're saying. In our definition of a return, it wasn't the return like we think about it. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you.
I don't consider it a major return at this point because he already made the major return.
Yeah.
But in regards of him being back, I feel like they missed their shot. I'm actually at the point now where I would kind of pull for Roman to beat him one-on-one as well, because I felt like the moment should have been at Mania. Now, with all that being said, we have to keep in mind Money in the Bank is happening in front of a live crowd.
Right.
So obviously Edge is the pop for the first pay-per-view back in front of a live crowd, obviously other than WrestleMania, where we're going to be really back into consistent live crowds again. Mm-hmm. So I get the reasoning, the booking, but I just don't understand Roman losing the belt at Money in the Bank, at least not in that match. I could almost see a swerve if they were to have the men's Money in the Bank cashed in same night on Roman after he's had a vicious match against Edge. So we could entertain that kind of booking, I think, more than I could a clean Edge win and walk out as champion. I think they missed the mark at Mania because of that. So cool return. Like, I'm happy. I think we deserved the one-on-one match. I vocalized that I wasn't very happy about the Daniel Bryan edition during the WrestleMania season. So if Edge wins, I'm cool with it. I don't really have an issue with him being the champion, but we got to remember SummerSlam is literally the next pay-per-view. And so it's hard for me to believe that Roman's not on the card for SummerSlam as champion against some big name. And we can talk our thoughts on that here in a few minutes, because we both see a few big returns for SummerSlam. And I don't think that Edge is in that picture as far as the main title goes. I'm actually more or less seeing rumors maybe him and Seth Rollins at SummerSlam.
Agreed. Yeah. So let's just do that. Let's fast forward to SummerSlam. We both agree that Edge is not going to win the title at Money in the Bank. in some way, shape, or form, we're probably going to see Edge and
Seth Rollins.
Seth Rollins. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. We talked about this before we went live. I think that Edge coming back now was up in the air probably until recently. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they had Edge as a backup plan for SummerSlam. But with him just recently announcing that, he is coming back, it's almost a given that we're going to see Roman Reigns and John Cena at SummerSlam. I mean, it's you might as well just officially book it at this point. I mean, they're not going to, but I mean, it's just there's so much on social media and on the wrestling dirt sheets that people know what's coming, which is fine, but I think they're they being WWE, they're just like, okay, John Cena is going to be our guy at SummerSlam, but we need something to do with Roman leading up to that. And I think they just said, okay, Edge is our guy. Let's just, in essence, give Roman something to do going into SummerSlam. And that's really what we're getting at this point.
Well, that's a twofold booking too, because based off of how they built the storyline for
Andrew, I think that's going to be Mania if it happens at all.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's twofold booking because again, we need a really good Roman Reigns match for Money in the Bank, right? We got to have someone who's a contender who we actually could believe could win that match.
Right.
At the same time, what do we do with Seth Rollins? Because the Seth Rollins Cesaro thing has to be over. What do we do with Seth Rollins to keep him relevant, keep him a top star, keep him ready to go for a potential title match at some point, whether that be against Roman or whoever defeats Roman before then? So how do we do that? Well, on SmackDown, he went into the office of Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville and said, I'm next up for Roman. I know I'm the guy, yada, yada, yada. And if that speech tonight that Roman has planned has anything to say about who's next, it's me. So what happens? Edge comes out before Roman can even say anything. So it could be the fact that even after Edge loses, or what causes him to lose, is Seth Rollins getting involved out of jealousy for the fact that he should have been the guy to face Roman. Mm-hmm. So it's a twofold booking. It's a good booking for Money in the Bank. Edge versus Roman, that's a ticket seller. It sounds good. It'll probably be good. But it also sets up that storyline between Edge and Seth where they can have a really good feud with a lot of intensity and good matches without a belt being involved. So I think that's good booking if they really actually go that route. And I'm in agreement with you. I think John Cena, out of the returns that he can make and potential opponents, I don't see another name other than Roman Reigns, honestly. I don't see a John Cena, Bobby Lashley storyline even being remotely entertaining.
I mean, the only direction that makes sense from the standpoint of, let's face it, it's late June. We're not going to have this long drawn out build or feud to SummerSlam with whoever Bobby Lashley faces. So the only one that makes sense, given their backgrounds, their histories, is Brock Lesnar.
Right.
I mean, we're not gonna see. I shouldn't say we're not going to, but I would be very shocked if we see Brock Lesnar against Roman Reigns. To me, that just on paper it would make sense, but it makes less sense, than bringing Cena in to face Roman versus, like you just said, bringing Cena in to face Bobby Lashley. Just there's nothing there.
And I would rather entertain these thoughts as, first off, Brock Lesnar coming back without Paul Heyman, which no matter which storyline you go is not happening. Right. So Brock Lesnar coming back without Paul Heyman means not good promos. So who's going to cover that the best? I think a Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar match makes more sense because I think MVP can kind of carry the both of them in a sense with cutting a promo against Brock and kind of antagonizing him, where Brock just kind of reacts with his actions, not his words. Where if you do Roman versus Brock, you have to play into the fact that Paul Heyman used to be Brock's guy and all that stuff. And I just don't think that's the right time to pull that storyline. Now, I would rather entertain the idea that if for some reason Roman's still champion at like a Night of Champions type thing or something like that, where it's champion versus champion, Survivor Series as well, whatever the case may be, if Brock was to become champion and defeat Bobby and Roman's still champion, then you have a Brock versus Roman one-time off feud there where you can play on the Paul Heyman emotions and all that stuff. So,
no, I'm not driving. I'm just sitting in my car. Long story.
But I like the John Cena booking against Roman. I think that's a quick storyline that you can put together quickly where the Brock Bobby storylines are already there. So that doesn't have to be put together so hard.
Agreed. Let's see. Well, okay, let's talk about this real quick. I mean, this is going to be jumping the gun slightly as far as our predictions and such. However, I'm going to look at something real quick. So SummerSlam is August 21st. If you guys have joined us enough, you know that we will be taking a little bit of a hiatus in late July, early August timeframe. We should be back in time to give our SummerSlam predictions. The keyword is should be. Our full predictions, that is. So we're going to jump the gun a little bit. Now I'm doing this only because nothing's set in stone with SummerSlam. But let's just say we do get John Cena and Roman Reigns for the title at SummerSlam. Do you think John Cena wins the title?
That obviously, you know, where my heart would be is that I would want John Cena to beat Roman. And as we continue down this Roman Reigns storyline, we're really starting to X guys left and right to the point that there's not many names left that I could believably say, yeah, that person can win. There's only 2 to 3 major storylines that I could see past John Cena that would make any sense. One of them being that a Money in the Bank cash-in would happen on Roman, to where after some major match against somebody, Roman's already kind of down and out, whatever. That person cashes in, gets some help, whatever the case may be, and gets the belt, obviously. So there's that potential storyline always, obviously. The only other 2 that would make sense is that if a Bobby versus Brock Lesnar match happened and Brock for some reason didn't get the belt, eventually bringing him over to SmackDown to feud with Roman and having him be the guy to beat Roman. Other than that, the only other name that I can really think of would be Seth Rollins, because we haven't had that yet. But then you have to debate on making Seth face, or does Roman's somehow make a face turn? I don't know how any of those really make a whole lot of sense, more than it does to have John Cena, who's been the top guy destroyer in a sense, if you want to put it that way. And I think that's the perfect way to make him heel John Cena. Let him break the streak. Let him have what we would consider a shorter run, because I don't see him returning on a long-term scale. I think if his return happened, it would be 2 to 3 months total, with maybe not even being on set every single week. So, but I would love to see the John Cena heel turn of he beats Roman, even maybe with heel tactics, but he beats the top guy again, and now he's heel John Cena until they decide to put it on Money in the Bank winner or Seth Rollins, or back on Roman as a face now, or whatever the case may be. To me, that makes the most sense as who should defeat Roman's big streak.
Yeah. David, I'll be honest, we have talked about that. We will see. We're going to take stock of just where we're at in terms of, the hiatus we're going to take. in about a month or so. Again, I'll just kind of reiterate this if this is your first time watching. So long story short, my wife is having a surgery at the end of July. So I'm going to be working from home for like 3 weeks. Cole's got some commitments as well that he's going to be taken care of. So from I think July 21st, which that's a Wednesday. So that week, the following week, July 28th, and then the Wednesday after that's the first Wednesday in August. We know that we will not be doing a podcast those 3 Wednesdays. I will keep you guys updated if it'll be longer than that. But, excuse me, during that hiatus, Cole and I are gonna plan to do stuff like we're doing now, just doing these short live videos and just chatting with you guys and kind of just doing what we would normally do outside of the intro graphics and the music and the sound bites and whatnot. But the SummerSlam watch party is something I've considered. So we'll keep you updated and we'll let you know. Michael's on board with the Cena heel turn. So that's an interesting question. Do we get a double turn? Because it's a weird dynamic because it's like Wrestling 101 has always taught us that you cheer the face and you boo the heel. But in this case, I mean, people are going to be excited to see Cena back. So he's going to get cheered. Roman is going to get booed just because he's a heel. But do you think it's going to be a weird dynamic to where heel Cena gets cheered even more and a face Roman gets booed even more so?
It is one of those things where it is a rarity where you get a Becky Lynch situation where they tried to heel turn her and it only made people cheer her more because the push happened still.
Yeah.
Now, the difference between that and this is that Cena's had his push, he's had his time. I do think though that if you want Cena to be like actually the heel in that story, I think you would have to actually do heel-like things. I don't think that it could be as easy as just him coming in and being his normal self and people would boo him like in years past of him returning. I think now we have someone who is Roman is such a heel right now that people enjoy him as heel, right? Like I've not seen anybody say that it's even stale at this point. It's still been pretty good. But like, how do you get him to be face if he's really good at playing the heel right now? If Cena doesn't do heel-like things, and in return, if Paul Heyman is his guy, Paul Heyman doesn't really play a good face manager. So it's like the only way I could see those kind of things happening is if Roman was to like fire Paul, which could be right on time for Paul to get upset about it and go bring Brock back. Like I don't. There are many facets to those kind of things that could happen, but honestly, I don't think that the switch would happen in that storyline. Like we're talking, I think it would be more. What's the word I'm looking for? More of a slower transition, like Roman's off TV for a little bit after that loss was to happen. Because John Cena would have to do something to win the match dirty or in a way that makes him heel and then continue to cut heel promos. Maybe defend the belt once or twice. Like I said, his run would have to be like 2 to 3 months. Defends the belt once or twice against a couple guys, whether they're contenders or not legitimately, whether it's Kevin Owens, Shinsuke Nakamura, Baron Corbin. Like there's some guys that we could do that with, but they would all have to be faces, which shows potential that Baron Corbin could be flipping face too at some point. So interesting to see, but I just don't know if it would happen in that match. I think it would be more likely that after Roman gets beat, he takes like a month or two off of television and then he comes back and is the guy that beats John Cena again, but now as the face. So interesting dynamics that we could see out of that, though.
Let's see. What else can we talk about? Oh, no, this is what I wanted to bring up. Okay. And this will probably be the last thing we bring up, guys. Just, I wanted to keep this brief, 30, 40 minutes or so, mainly, again, because my laptop battery is slowly dwindling. I don't have a power source. I'm in my car. Between that, there are other wrestling podcasts that are normally on Saturday nights. I don't want to, disrespect them and take away, from them. So this is mainly just to hop on here, have a little bit of fun, chat with you guys, and such. So this will be the last thing we bring up, and then we'll probably jump off here. And if I seem distracted, it's because I'm like you see, I'm in my car, and it looks like we get a big storm coming. So I just want to make sure that I'm not, caught outside in this if it gets bad. So anyway, so on WWE Main Event, they did tryout matches for Karrion Kross and my mind's just drawing a blank. Bronson Reed. Wow. But the big news was Karrion Kross came out by himself and didn't have his normal intro. He didn't have the smoke, didn't have the lighting. It was just him. And it was also, like I said, he came out alone. So Scarlett did not come out with him. So I'm hoping that this was just a tryout in the sense that, okay, we're not going to do all the fancy pyro and all that stuff. We're just going to let him go and see how he does. He wrestled Shelton Benjamin. I assume Karrion Kross got the win. I actually don't know. So if you're watching and fill us in. But from what I'm seeing, they are going to include NXT in the upcoming draft. I fully expect Karrion Kross to go to Raw or SmackDown. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets drafted while he's still NXT champion. Now, I think he'll get drafted and then lose it, within a week or two or whatever. But I fully expect him to be off of NXT in a few months. I mean, it's just, the guy is just, this is one of the best characters WWE has built in a long time. So, and piggybacking off that, they actually tried out Scarlett and Shotzi Blackheart either before or after SmackDown last night as well. So, your thoughts on NXT's involvement in the draft? Who do you think is going to go to Raw or SmackDown? Do you think anybody on Raw or SmackDown goes to NXT?
Yeah. So it's I mean, first off, let's get it right that NXT is still putting on the best show.
Agreed.
And
it's not even close.
Without Karrion Kross, they're still putting on the best show.
Oh yeah.
The only thing I would say selfishly that would bother me if we didn't get it before Karrion Kross was to be moved would be the idea that Joe could make a return and get in the ring and he would be an NXT superstar. I would like to see Joe versus Kross. I think that would be potential to be match of the year candidate because those two guys can both go. They're similar body types. It doesn't really cause Joe to have to do a lot of the dive out of the ring type stuff for their matches. So that would be the only thing selfishly with Kross that I would like to see before the transition to him to a main roster, whether that be that's how they get the belt off of him or just because that's where it fell as far as Joe's in-ring return happens.
Mark, I hope not. Those two need to stay together.
We know Scarlett can go in the ring, so I've actually been curious as to if or when she's going to make that debut because they're not really portraying her as capable in the ring. Now, I know she is. I've seen matches.
Yeah.
But the NXT women's division, although great, could always benefit from another solid person and she kind of has not the same kind of, let's call them powers or anyways, but she's got like Alexa Bliss type vibes. Like she has that very dark, never know what's going to happen type character. I would kind of give her more of the like an Aleister Black feel of the women's division, like just very mysterious, never know what's going to happen. They could really build her into something nuts and crazy, whether that be NXT or if they were to hold off on her making her in-ring debut for the main roster. Again, main roster, well, we call it main roster, but Raw, SmackDown, they're hurting for women. I mean, I just don't understand how on NXT, between NXT and the three brands, that it could be that unbalanced. I mean, NXT literally has four solid, technically 5 women's tag teams that are all good.
Yeah.
I'm like, you have stacked your women's division here. I don't understand how you don't have more women on these other rosters. I just don't understand where's Mia Yim at? You know, obviously Becky Lynch, Lacey Evans, pregnancies, things like that. But then you make Supercross and you know, there's just no use. And you let people like Ruby Riott go. And I'm just like, what are we doing with the women's division? So Scarlett could be a really a breath of fresh air on one of those rosters if they were to debut her in the ring and really like, same with Carrion, just like shoot her to the top.
To the moon.
To the moon. That would be intriguing. Karrion Kross to me, I would almost rather see Adam Cole go before him though. I think that's the only thing that would keep me from being like, yeah, I think I would like to see Karrion Kross move up. I would much rather see Adam Cole go and Karrion Kross be the face of NXT a lot longer than to see Karrion go. If we're going to see those kind of names make this switch, the only names that I could really see coming back down to NXT.
Here's one. I got one.
No, that will no. Maybe in an appearance, but I could definitely see Keith Lee making a return back to NXT because of the lack of use of him. And if it fits his style a little bit better. As on Raw, it just seemed like they just wanted him to be this powerhouse, and that's not his only genre or whatever you want to call it, his only style. So he would intrigue me. Actually, Ricochet still intrigues me back at NXT if they don't pull the trigger on him in this Money in the Bank scenario. I could see pulling him back down to NXT because that would be interesting. Other than that, as far as men go, I don't really see a whole lot of, other than bringing like Mason T-Bar back down potentially, some of those lesser used guys in a sense.
Well, let's put it this way, if NXT is involved in the draft, they're going to, I guess technically they don't have to, but logic would suggest, now I know we're talking about WWE, so logic can just be non-existent, but logically you would think if they're going to move guys from NXT, they're going to give NXT people as well. So
if you remember correctly, though, they were always giving Raw like 3 picks to SmackDown's 2. So I'm curious if it would also be like Raw's 3 picks to SmackDown's 2 to NXT's 1.
Probably. I mean, just based on, you know, the length of the programming, I guess. But
right.
So let's do this, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. So if you could pick one person from NXT to go to Raw and one person from NXT to go to SmackDown, who would they be?
I like the idea of Adam Cole on SmackDown.
Agreed.
I don't know why I'm not saying Raw, because Raw is supposed to be the flagship show, but something about Adam Cole on SmackDown just seems special. Like that house that AJ Styles built, kind of special. The Edge, kind of Eddie Guerrero, kind of special. Just something about that mold just really sticks out to me. So I think I would say Adam Cole to SmackDown. As far as Raw goes, I get really really nervous when I start talking and moving people to Raw, because that has been the show where I feel like people have gotten lost in the mix more
Yeah.
than not. But looking at the roster, oh man, that's tough. I would probably entertain. I'd probably honestly entertain Finn Balor making the return
Yeah.
back to Raw. And as long as we're going to switch some guys back down, obviously we've also heard the rumors of Daniel Bryan wanting to be part-time. So Daniel Bryan could be one of those guys that gets brought down to NXT in a sense. But I think Finn Balor transitioning back to Raw would make sense.
So those are the two I was thinking of, and you could really, I mean, you could do them interchangeably. You could say Adam Cole to Raw and Finn Balor to SmackDown, but I agree. Adam Cole to SmackDown is just more intriguing. I feel like you'd have better matches, the potential for better matches. I mean, David Burris brought up the Pat McAfee variable in the mix. What does everyone else say? Mark says cross SmackDown Cole to Raw. That's an intriguing one. I wouldn't mind seeing Pete Dunne on Raw or SmackDown.
I almost said Kyle O'Reilly to Raw. The problem is that I really think Kyle O'Reilly needs this time on NXT, and that's why I think they need to get rid of Adam Cole off of NXT. So I like this Roderick Strong led Diamond Mine group that they're doing. I think that's going to really build Roderick Strong up on his own. I like this Kyle O'Reilly that they've created on NXT, but he's got to be able to become the face. And if Adam Cole doesn't go, that's never going to happen. So I think Adam Cole goes, Kyle O'Reilly really steps up. And I would even say the same thing. I'd like to see them do something with Kyle O'Reilly's partner. Remind me.
Bobby Fish?
Bobby Fish. I'd like to see them really build him as a solo star. So when they all make it to the main roster, if we'll call it that, we could eventually consider a Undisputed Era type reunion at some point. You know, we could always revisit that again. But build them solely too, so they could have careers. I think Kyle going to one of those shows right now would almost hurt him than help him, because he's not been a top guy that long. Pete Dunne's interesting because he has been, but they haven't utilized him like that since. The only other name that I would even intrigue, and I don't think it'll happen because he wants nothing to do with this, would be Walter. I could see Walter.
Yeah, he's not going to move to the States, though. That's the problem.
Right. So that's where it's like, which is interesting that they're working with him so hard and giving him such a push, because are your plans to always have him at NXT UK and never progress him any further than that? Because that's a low bar for Walter. So at some point, I feel like you got to be willing to play with that a little bit. But that's the only other talent-wise that I'm like, yeah, that person's ready. As far as, I mean, we could talk women too. I think Io Shirai or Raquel Gonzalez would be some interesting names to play with as far as making the move up to NXT or up to Raw or SmackDown.
Yes, that's what Jamie said earlier.
I don't know if there's any other women that I'm like. Selfishly, I would say Ember Moon because I like Ember. Shotzi would do all right, but I think she's a better fit for NXT.
Yeah, I agree.
And I would like to see Shotzi as women's champion on NXT before I really put my name next to her as somebody who could be more than that. Like Bianca Belair reapproved that in NXT. I think Shotzi needs to prove that to me. So other than that, I Dakota Kai eventually, but I think needs to win the belt before I can really depict if I think you have everything that it takes. So those are just a few names that I could see either or making those switches.
So outside of those two, I mean, you and I both picked Adam Cole and Finn Balor. One name that we haven't mentioned, and we're going to wrap this up soon because my laptop battery is at 10%. So we're going to have to wrap this up soon. One name we didn't mention, and I know he's, got a current storyline going at the moment, but selfishly, somebody I would love to see on Raw or SmackDown within the next 6 months, maybe a little longer, would be LA Knight.
So I actually that's a shocking answer because I thought you were going a different way with that. LA Knight, yes. Again, I think NXT is a good building ground. I would like to see him finish the year out here in NXT and win either the North American or the NXT Championship, one of the two. I think the North American's more likely
Probably.
for him. The only other name that, as I was sitting here, kind of sitting back, that I like Johnny Gargano on NXT, so I think I want him to stay. But Tommaso Ciampa, I think he's kind of full circle completed what he needed to complete in NXT, and I think there's just a lot of things you could do with him. And I really don't care which show, Raw or SmackDown. I think you go either way with him. I just don't know. He would be someone I would be really nervous that they would mess up and really drop the ball with. So they would really have to elevate him to the top like they've done with Riddle, and really not give up on that push like they did with Keith Lee, and make sure that they elevate him at least to the mid-card picture, give him a shot to get over, and then let him prove that he's main card worthy.
Agreed. All right, guys. Due to the fact that my laptop battery is about gone, as well as the fact there's a storm coming, and as you can see, I'm sitting in my car because I'd planned to do this from home, but long story short, my wife this morning was like, "Hey, do you want to take the kids out of town to a VBS?" And I was like, "All right, I guess I'm gonna kind of wing it." So here I am doing it from the car. But with the storm coming, I got to get inside, get my kids. Real quick though, guys. First off, if you tuned in tonight, thanks for joining us. We sincerely appreciate it. If you are joining us for the first time, we're normally live on Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. We normally broadcast from a studio, so it's, looks and sounds more professional than just me sitting in my car. So join us this Wednesday. We'll be back for the next 3 Wednesdays, and then we're going to take our little bit of a break, hiatus, whatever you want to call it. We'll keep you guys posted in the meantime on our next watch party. Besides that, Cole, any final words?
Guys, as always, thank you for watching the greatest wrestling podcast ever. We sincerely appreciate you taking some time out on your what could have been a busy Saturday night to join us, to hang out with us, to talk just a little bit of wrestling with us. That means the world to us, especially with the crazy week for both Alex and I. So thank you so much for doing that. I will leave you with your favorite thing as always, because why not? It's Saturday night. So I'll leave you with that, as you guys have all requested before and will always request again, I'm sure.
I actually had a nice little echo to it.
Oh yeah, the room's big, We
need to add some effects to our mic, so yours can kind of. I'll flip the little effect on right before you do it. So
there we go.
Guys, thanks for joining us. I'm not going to do my $1 million laugh just because my voice is about shot with vacation all week, and it's just been crazy, but crazy in a good way. So again, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining us, and we're signing off. We'll see you Wednesday, guys.